My third story is about death. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." It made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had a scan at 7:30 in the morning, and it clearly showed a tumor on my pancreas. I didn't even know what a pancreas was. The doctors told me this was almost certainly a type of cancer that is incurable, and that I should expect to live no longer than 3 to 6 months. My doctor advised me to go home and get my affairs in order, which is doctor's code for prepare to die. It means to try and tell your kids everything you thought you'd have the next 10 years to tell them in just a few months. It means to make sure everything is buttoned up so that it will be as easy as possible for your family. It means to say your goodbyes. I lived with that diagnosis all day. Later that evening, I had a biopsy where they stuck an endoscope down my throat, through my stomach and into my intestines, put a needle into my pancreas and got a few cells from the tumor. I was sedated, but my wife, who was there, told me that when they viewed the cells under a microscope, the doctors started crying because it turned out to be a very rare form of pancreatic cancer that is curable with surgery. I had the surgery, and thankfully, I'm fine now. This was the closest I've been to facing death, and I hope it's the closest I get for a few more decades. Having lived through it, I can now say this to you with a bit more certainty than when death was a useful but purely intellectual concept. No one wants to die. Even people who want to go to heaven don't want to die to get there. And yet, death is the destination we all share. No one has ever escaped it. And that is as it should be, because death is very likely the single best invention of life. It's life's change agent. It clears out the old to make way for the new. Right now, the new is you. But someday, not too long from now, you will gradually become the old and be cleared away. Sorry to be so dramatic, but it's quite true. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary.
Everything you're going through is God preparing you for what you asked for. If it's a man, the lack of man is preparing you for one. I'll tell you a true story, man. I knew this girl who was a friend of mine. She was dating this married guy. I said, how can you possibly think God is going to send you the right guy? Why are you dating this married dude? How you think this works? But they went to the same restaurant, had the same booth for 2 years. They met every week. It's kind of like, remember Billy Paul's old song? Me and Mrs. Jones. We meet every day at the same cafe, 6:30, because I know she'll be there. That was a song. Well, this woman dated this man for 2 years. They went to the same restaurant. He knew the maitre d'. The maitre d' kept the table for him. Maitre D watched this go on for 2 years. He kind of knew the guy. He wasn't cool, just gave him the right table. 2 years. Just kept on dating this dude. She asked me, she said, Steve, why are you saying God won't send me Mr. Right? I said, well, I'm going to tell you something my mother taught me. I got this little job, right? And I used to come in the house. Every time I got paid, I was saving a little bit so I could get me a new car. And I would tell my mother, who was a Sunday school teacher, I would say, hey, Mom, I'm going to give me a new car. She said, yeah, I know, boy, but your old car is out in the backyard up on the blocks. I had this old car that set up on these cylinder blocks in the driveway in the backyard. And leaves had got up under it, and paper cups and oil stains where I tried fixing it. I just never could get it to working. I used to try to work on cars and stuff, but just wasn't, just an old car. So I get paid again. I said, Mama, I'm going to give me a new car. She said, I know, boy, but your old car outside on blocks. I don't understand this. Why does she keep talking about this old car for? I'm coming in here trying to be positive because I read this book called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, and think positive. So one day, about 6 times, I came and I said, Mom, I'm going to give me a new car, I'm telling you. She said, I know, baby, but your old car outside on the blocks. So I knew my mom was trying to teach me something because that's how they ever did me. Because that's how I do my sons. They made me a thinking man. They would never tell me nothing direct. They would just throw it out there. So I said, Mom, how come every time I get paid, I try to come in here and say something positive to you about me getting a new car, and you keep telling me about my old car out on the blocks? She said, son, you ain't got nowhere to put no new car. I called a friend of mine up. He had a tow service. I said, man, $20, I need some help. He came and towed the car away from me. I took all the cylinder blocks down, took all that trash that had gathered up on it, bundled it up, went down to Giant Tiger and bought some little asphalt cleaner and put it down and scrubbed that oil up, made that driveway look new. All of a sudden, the driveway looked new. It was a lot of space in the yard and everything. 2 weeks later, I got a new car. It wasn't new, it was used, but I bought a car. And I pulled it up in the driveway. I said, Mother, look at that, I got the car. She said, because you got somewhere to put it. She said, son, you can't ask God for something and then don't make ready to receive it. So I told that to this girl. She started crying. She said, oh my God. She said, I ain't ready to receive it. I said, no. You can ask him for it, but until you're ready to receive it, why would he give it to you? Because you ain't going to do nothing but mess it up. She stopped seeing the married guy. So she stopped going to the restaurant. One day, the maitre d' sees her out somewhere. He approached the girl and said, I haven't seen you in a while. She said, yeah, I broke up with my friend. He said, wow, I've been waiting. She said, excuse me? He said, I've been waiting. He said, I've been watching you come here for 2 years. The most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I could not understand why you was with this guy. 1.5 years later, them two people got married. Them two people have 2 kids now. He ain't the maitre d' of the restaurant no more. He bought the restaurant. Because the girl was a financial chick at a bank, so she was the missing piece for him. So instead of being the maitre d', he bought the restaurant. They now own 3 restaurants. This dude making almost $2 million a year off of 3 restaurants. They living their life. You know why? Because she took the old car down off the blocks. So ladies, I ain't saying this about you, but maybe you got an old car in your driveway up on blocks. You really want a new car, but maybe it ain't nowhere for the new car to come. Could it be? Maybe God waiting on you to get the old car towed out so you can clean up your yard and he can park a new car there. Could that be the situation with your relationship, or could it be with anything else you want? If I was you, I'd try that. I have never told my children to get a backup plan. I do not believe in backup plans. See, if you have a plan A and you're thinking that it might not work, let's just say you really want plan A to work, but you need a backup plan. You have to stop working plan A to prepare plan B, which takes away the energy and the effort to make A work. So now, this is what I found in life. Everybody that planned for a backup plan had to end up using it. So, support her with the fashion is probably going to be her thing. She's always known it. So I was telling the one guy, I said, man, I don't get no plan B. He said, okay, Steve, suppose you've done all you can and your plan A just fails and it don't work and there's nothing you can do about it. What you gonna do then? See, you need a plan B then. I said, no, I'll get another plan A. I'll get another plan A.
You can change yourself. Human beings can live one way for 5 years and then tear up that script and live a totally different way the next 5 years. You're not a tree, you don't have to stay. You're not a goose, you don't have to fly south. I'm telling you, anytime you want to, you can say, I'm going to change my attitude, I'm going to change my income, I'm going to change my abilities, I'm going to do more than I've ever done before. Take on that as your God-given right as a human being to change your life to whatever degree you want it to change.
What is the one thing, like don't give me the big philosophy on it, what are the practical steps that we can do if I want to start changing my life right now?
You got to have a plan. Everybody's got a dream. Everybody's got a goal. What's the plan? And your plan has got to have something I call the C5 complex. Your plan has got to be clear, concise, compelling, consistent, and committed. You've got to have a plan. And when you're trying to do something that you're truly passionate about, there is no plan B. Plan B sucks. Think about that for a second. Michael Jordan won 6 NBA championships with the Chicago Bulls because he was committed to plan A, not plan B. Oprah Winfrey became the queen of all media because she was committed to plan A, not plan B.
Okay.
Plan B sucks.
You become what you believe. When I was a little girl, Mississippi, growing up on the farm, only buckwheat as a role model, watching my grandmother boil clothes in a big iron pot through the screen door because we didn't have a washing machine and made everything we had. I watched her and realized somehow inside myself and the spirit of myself that although this was segregated Mississippi and I was colored and female, that my life could be bigger, greater than what I saw. I remember being 4 or 5 years old. I certainly couldn't articulate it, but it was a feeling, and a feeling that I allowed myself to follow. I allowed myself to follow because if you were to ask me what is the secret to my success, it is because I understand that there is a power greater than myself that rules my life. And in life, if you can be still long enough in all of your endeavors, the good times, the hard times, to connect yourself to the source. I call it God. You can call it whatever you want to, the force, nature, Allah, the power. If you can connect yourself to the source and allow the energy that it is your personality, your life force to be connected to the greater force, anything is possible for you. I am proof of that. I think that my life, the fact that I was born where I was born, in the time that I was, and have been able to do what I've done, speaks to the possibility, not that I am special, but that it could be done.
The odds of me coming into the rocket business, not knowing anything about rockets, not having ever built anything, I would have to be insane if I thought the odds were in my favor.
Why even begin?
When something is important enough, you do it even though the odds are not in your favor.
How much of your personal fortune have you poured into this?
$100 million.
$100 million into something that you did not believe would work at the beginning.
A mere 7 years after my graduation day, I had failed on an epic scale. An exceptionally short-lived marriage had imploded, and I was jobless, a lone parent, and as poor as it is possible to be in modern Britain without being homeless. The fears that my parents had had for me, and that I had had for myself, had both come to pass. And by every usual standard, I was the biggest failure I knew. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that failure is fun. That period of my life was a dark one, and I had no idea that there was going to be what the press has since represented as a kind of fairy tale resolution. I had no idea then how far the tunnel extended, and for a long time, any light at the end of it was a hope rather than a reality. So why do I talk about the benefits of failure? Simply because failure meant a stripping away of the inessential. I stopped pretending to myself that I was anything other than what I was, and began to direct all my energy into finishing the only work that mattered to me. Had I really succeeded at anything else, I might never have found the determination to succeed in the one arena where I believed I truly belonged. I was set free, because my greatest fear had been realized, and I was still alive, and I still had a daughter whom I adored, and I had an old typewriter and a big idea. And so rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life.
Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Without commitment, you'll never start, but more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish. It's not easy. If it was easy, there'd be no Kerry Washington. If it was easy, there'd be no Taraji Henson. If it were easy, there'd be no Octavia Spencer. But not only that, if it were easy, there'd be no Viola Davis. If it were easy, there'd be no Michael T. Williamson, no Stephen McKinley Henderson, no Russell Hornsby. If it were easy, there'd be no Denzel Washington. So, keep working, keep striving, never give up, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. So, keep moving, keep growing, keep learning. You only live once, so do what you feel passionate about. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. So have dreams, but have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. I try to give myself a goal every day. And understand that to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency. Every day, not just on Tuesday and miss a few days. You have to work at it. Every day, you have to plan. Every day. You've heard the saying, we don't plan to fail, we fail to plan. Hard work works. Working really hard is what successful people do. Don't confuse movement with progress. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. You will fail at some point in your life. Accept it. You will lose. You will embarrass yourself. You will suck at something. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. There is no passion to be found playing small. So never give up.
There will never be a point in your life where it's the right time to do a great thing. If you're waiting for that perfect moment, that perfect timing, it's not going to happen. You know what you have to do? You have to create the perfect time and the perfect opportunity and the perfect situation.
So that a lot of people become comfortable. They stop growing. They stop wanting anything. They become satisfied. People getting ready to go to jobs that they don't like. Jobs that are making them sick. You see, when you're not pursuing your goal, you are literally committing spiritual suicide. When you have some goal out here that you're stretching for and reaching for that takes you out of your comfort zone, you'll find out some talents and abilities you have that you didn't know you have. When the messenger of misery visits you, what are you going to do? What will keep you in the game?
There are things that you think you'll never need to know, that you may only need to know one time in your life, but that could save your life because you have that knowledge.
Unless you attempt to do something beyond that which you've already mastered, you will never grow. What is it that you looked at some point in time and you decided that you couldn't do it, that you talked yourself out of it?
You're waiting on your next door neighbor to make it happen for you. It may not happen. If you're waiting on your mother or your father, they may be so ancient in their thinking that they don't understand this opportunity that you have. And if you're waiting on them, it may never get done. You don't beg average people to be phenomenal. You don't beg good people to be phenomenal. You just are phenomenal, and you will attract phenomenal.
What reason can you remember that you can call on, that you can reach on, that can make you get back up? Find that reason.
If you're not where you are, if you're not where you want to be, if you don't have what you want to have, if you're not where you think you should be at this particular place, it has nothing to do with the system, but it has everything to do with the fact that you're not making the sacrifice. I want you to make that dream become a reality, because if you don't, you will be working for somebody else to make their dreams become a reality.
Everybody is against you or don't believe in you no more. And let me tell you something, that's a lonely feeling. It's a lonely feeling, particularly people that you're doing it for. Most people take their greatness, take their ideas to the graveyard with them.
Listen to me, if it was easy, everybody would do it. There are people right now who are working who don't want to work. There are people who hate their jobs, they keep getting up to do it.
The wealthiest place on the planet is the graveyard. Because in the graveyard we will find inventions that we never ever were exposed to. Ideas, dreams that never became reality. Hopes and aspirations that were never acted upon.
The question is, what are you going to do with your time? What drives you? And greatness is a lot of small things done well. Day after day, workout after workout, obedience after obedience, day after day.
When things don't work out for you, when things happen that you could not anticipate, what are the reasons that you can think of that can keep you strong?
You will never ever be successful until you turn your pain into greatness, until you allow your pain to push you from where you are to push you to where you need to be. Stop running from your pain and embrace your pain. Your pain is going to be a part of your prize, a part of your product. I challenge you to push yourself.
See, it's easy to be on the bottom. It doesn't take any effort to be a loser. It doesn't take any motivation, any drive in order to stay down there at a low level. But it calls on everything in you. You have to harness your will to say, I'm going to challenge myself.
I mean, that what you did last week don't count. Today is the only important day. There are 86,400 seconds in a day, and how you use those are critical. You got 86,400 today, and what you do today is going to seep in who you are. Nobody's going to talk about what you did last week.
That the biggest enemy you have to deal with is yourself. There's an old African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm.
You have this opportunity of a lifetime. It means absolutely nothing if you don't take advantage of it in the lifetime of this opportunity. I got a saying that when life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it. See, it's time now. If you want to make this your decade, you've got to start saying yes to your life. You've got to start saying yes to your dreams, yes to your unfolding future, yes to your potential, as opposed to saying no. When you die, die on E. Leave no dream left behind, guys. Leave no opportunity left behind. When you leave this earth, accomplish every single thing you can accomplish. Listen to me, you're going to be here one day, but you'll never get here if you give up, if you give in, if you quit. And finally, guys, you got to want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe.